Good afternoon, everyone. So we are to discuss about the topics or coverage, rubrics or scoring rubrics, analytic rubric, holistic rubric, performance-based assessment, and portfolio assessment.
So, in the objectives, at the end of the session, the student must be able to explain what is meant by scoring rubrics, identify the difference between holistic rubrics and analytic rubrics, and create a sample rubrics of the chosen topic for either performance based assessment or portfolio assessment. So, let's move forward to the main topic, which is the scoring rubrics. So, scoring rubrics, according to Brookhart 1999, as cited by the Moscow 2000, are descriptive scoring schemes that developed by teachers in order to evaluate or guide the analysis of the product or process of the student's effort. Another definition of rubric is rating system by which teacher can determine at what level of proficiency a student is able to perform tasks or display knowledge of the concept and can define the different level of proficiency for each criterion according to Harasian 2000. One common use of rubric is when the teacher evaluates quality of an essay. The judgment of the evaluator differs from the other when there are no criteria to be followed. One on the organization aspect of the paper. If we were going to evaluate the quality of an essay, it must have the combination of these factors. On this case, evaluator judge the paper subjectively. To avoid such case, evaluator must develop and predetermine the criterion for evaluation process or purposes so that the subjectivity of evaluating lesson or it become more objective. So scoring rubric is the tools that students such as their performance paper, works and assignments. So let's move to the type of the rubrics. So we have here first holistic rubrics. So holistic rubric is a type of rubrics that requires the teachers to score the overall process or product as a whole according to NITCO 2001, Bertler 2001. In this case, the evaluator views the final product as a set of interrelated tasks contributing the whole. Using holistic rubric in scoring the performance or product of the students provides overall impressions on the ability of any given product. So holistic is consists of a single scale with all criteria to be included in the evaluation being considered together. While in the analytic rubric is a type of rubrics that provides information regarding performance in each component part of a task, making it useful for diagnosing specific strengths and weaknesses of the learner. In this type of rubric, the evaluator evaluates the final product into each component part and each part is scored independently. Hence, the total score of the product or performance of the students will be rating for all the parts of being evaluated. The teacher can use analytic rubrics when he wants to see the relative strength and weaknesses of the student's performance in each criterion and detail feedback and assess complicated performance. And also, it is the teacher wants to students to conduct self-assessment on their understanding about their performance. So the difference between holistic and analytic is that holistic rubric looks at the product or behavior in a global manner, while analytic rubric looks closely at the component of each product behavior and assess each one differently. So, in other word, not holistic assessment means making overall assessment, It is the evaluations of the teacher to test the behavioral in academic performance, the level of proficiency of the students. While the analytic assessment, where it involves the performance of the students such as mechanics, grammar, organization. So the best example for this is essay. So let's move to the advantages of using rubrics. So when assessing the performance of the students using performance-based assessment, it is very important to use scoring rubrics. The advantages of using rubrics is assessing students' performance are allow assessment to become more effective and consistent. And the second is clarifies the criteria in specific terms. The third one is clearly shows the students how the work will be evaluated and what is expected. And the fourth one is promotes the students' awareness of the criteria to be used in assessing peer performance. And number five is provides useful feedback regarding the effectiveness of the instructions and provide benchmark against which to measure and document progress. So, development of scoring rubrics, according to Mertler 2001, suggested that the different step in developing rubrics used in assessment of performance, process, product, or both process and product for classroom use in his article Designing Scoring Rubrics for Your Classroom. It is to examine the learning objectives to be addressed by the task. This allows you to match your scoring guide with your objectives and actual instructions. Identify the specific observable attributes that you want to see, as well as those you do not know want to see. Your dreams demonstrate in their product, process, or performance specify the characteristics, skills, or behavior that you will be looking for, as well as common mistakes you do not want to see. Brainstorm characteristics that describes each attribute. Identify to describe above the average, and below average performance for each observable attribute identified in step 2. So for holistic rubric, write thorough narrative descriptions for excellent work and poor work, incorporating each attribute into the descriptions. Describe the highest and lowest level of performance using the descriptors for each attribute. And for analytic rubrics, write thorough narrative description for excellent works and poor work for each individual attribute. Describe the highest and lowest level of performance using the descriptors for each attribute separately. Holistic rubrics complete the rubrics by describing the other level of continuum that ranges the excellent to poor work for collective attribute. Write descriptions for all intermediate level of performance. Analytic rubrics complete the rubrics by describing other level on the continuum that ranges from excellent to poor work for each attribute. Write descriptions for all intermediate level of performance for each attribute separately. So number 4, collect samples of students' work that exemplify each level. This will help you score in the future by serving the benchmark. So it is essential for the teacher to collect the students' work upon having those kind of outputs to be graded in the grading system. Number 5, revise the rubrics as necessary. Be prepared to reflect on the effectiveness of rubrics and revise it prior to its next implementation. So it is very essential that the rubric must be aligned and prepared for us teacher or future teacher to be known what level of the students must be developed, or what are their weaknesses. So let's move to the templates holistic rubrics. So these are the example of rubrics in the holistic. So in the score, number 5 is the highest level, in which it is the complete understanding of the problem. All requirements of tasks are included in the response. The number 4 is considerable higher level, is also considered understanding of the problem, and all requirements of tasks are included. Then number 3 is demonstrate partial understanding of the problem. Most requirements of the task are included. And second is demonstrate little understanding of the problem. Many requirements of the task are missing. Number 1, demonstrate no understanding of the problem. Then the last one is zero, no response at all, or task not attempted. So let's move to the template of analytic rubrics. So these are the example of analytic rubrics. So if the teacher wanted us to make an essay, and the teacher will be able to have this kind of rubrics, which is the teacher will be able to know the weaknesses and strengths of the students, whether they really understand what are the topic of the teacher that being discussed, or they are master the topic. And also this will involve the grammars of the students, organization of the sentence, and also the styles as well. Then let's move to the analytic rubric persuasive essay. So these are the analytic persuasive essay. So it involves here the make claim, give a reason in support of the claim, consider reason against the claim, relate the claim to the democracy, organization, word choice, sentence fluency, convention. So what I have mentioned earlier, that it is very essential for making an essay and having a rubrics to have the mastery of the topic, in which the teacher must be able to judge based on what their performance. And also it is very essential for the teacher to having the weaknesses of the students, for the students to be aware what to do in the next move. And the next topic that are to be discussed to Mia Villamora.
The next is the analytic rubric for an invention report. Okay, so this is the example of analytic rubric for an invention report. As you can see, there are only two parts in the analytic rubric in this example. So in the left side, you can see there the criterias, and in the right side are the qualities. And kindly scroll down. This is the example of rubric for an oral presentation. Next is the performance-based assessment. Performance-based assessment is a direct and systematic observation of the actual performances of the students based from a predetermined performance criterion. It is an alternative form of assessing the performance of the students that represent a set of strategies for the application of knowledge, skills, and work habits through the performance of tasks that are meaningful and engaging to students. Okay, so from the word itself, performance-based assessment, it is an assessment that involves performing, of course. For example, role-playing or any kind of activity that displays skills. In this type of assessment, students' knowledge is not measured through quizzes, multiple choice tests, or any paper and pencil test. Rather, it is measured through performing. Okay, so next is paper and pencil test versus performance-based assessment. Paper and pencil test measures learning indirectly. When measuring factual knowledge and when solving well-structured mathematical problems, it is better to use paper and pencil tests. In this case, teachers ask questions which indicate skills that have been learned or mastered, usually assess low-level thinking skills or beyond recall level, while performance-based assessment is a direct measure of learning or competence. This indicates that cognitive complex outcomes, affective and psychomotor skills have been mastered. So, unlike sa performance-based assessment, paper and pencil test does not involve performance of the students. So, ari manggawas ang mga written tests like quizzes, multiple choice test, or any kinds of tests that involves paper and pencil. So, yeah. Next is the portfolio assessment. Portfolio assessment is the systematic longitudinal collection of student work created in response to specific known instructional objectives and evaluated in relation to the same criteria. So in this assessment, the students are asked to make a portfolio, for example, a scrapbook of information and examples, which I think tatana nakatry na og buhat. And then, student portfolio is a purposeful collection of students' work that exhibits the students' efforts, progress, and achievements in one or more areas. The collection must include student participation in selecting contents, the criteria for selection, the criteria for judging merit, and the evidence of student self-reflection. So, student portfolio, this is already the collection of all the students' work or the students' outputs, and we are asked to compile all of those in a portfolio to, yeah. And then, the traditional assessment and portfolio assessment. So, under traditional assessment, this assessment measures students' ability at one time, done by the teacher alone, and students are not aware of the criteria, and then conducted outside instruction, assign student a grade, does not capture the student's language ability, does not include the teacher's knowledge of student as a learner and does not give student responsibility. So in traditional assessment, um, the ari nga assessment is nag-involve siya of quizzes, reports, essays, multiple choice questions, and etc. Yeah. And then under portfolio assessment, it measures students' ability over time, done by the teacher and the students. The students are aware of the criteria embedded in instruction, involves students in own assessment, captures many facets of language learning performance, allows for expression of teacher's knowledge of student as a learner, and student learns how to take responsibility. So under any assessment, um, this includes the collection of students' essays, artworks, answer sheets, and etc. So yeah, as what I have said earlier in this assessment, the students are asked to make a portfolio, which that's all for today. Thank you.